The sun was setting over New York City, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. People were hurrying home after a long day, cars honking as they crawled through traffic. It was just another ordinary evening, or so everyone thought. Suddenly, the ground began to shake. At first, people thought it was an earthquake, but then they looked up. Hovering above Manhattan was a massive spacecraft, its metallic surface gleaming like polished silver. The ship was enormous, larger than any skyscraper in the city. Its presence cast a shadow over the streets below, sending waves of fear rippling through the crowd. No one knew what to do. Some ran for cover, others stood frozen, staring at the impossible sight. A loud voice echoed across the city, deep and distorted as if coming from another world. "We are the Valens," it announced. "Your species has reached the end of its time. Surrender now, or face destruction." The message repeated, itself in multiple languages, each word dripping with authority and menace. Panic erupted. People screamed and scattered in every direction. Soldiers rushed to the scene, their weapons drawn but useless against something so vast and alien. News helicopters circled overhead, broadcasting live footage to millions around the globe. Everyone watched, holding their breath, wondering what would happen next. In the chaos, Alex Carter stepped out of his small auto repair shop. He had been working late, fixing a broken-down car when he heard the commotion outside. Curious, he wiped his greasy hands on a rag and walked to the edge of the sidewalk. His jaw dropped as he saw the spaceship hovering above the skyline. Like everyone else, he was stunned. Before he could react, a beam of light shot down from the ship surrounding him. Alex felt weightless as the beam lifted him off the ground. He shouted, kicking his legs and waving his arms, but there was nothing he could do. Within seconds, he found himself inside the alien vessel. The interior of the ship was unlike anything Alex had ever seen. The walls shimmered with colors that seemed alive, shifting and pulsing like a living organism. Strange symbols floated, in the air glowing faintly. Standing before him were several towering figures, aliens with elongated limbs, smooth gray skin, and large, emotionless eyes. Their leader, Galactic, stood taller than the rest, wearing armor that sparkled like stars. Galactic studied Alex with cold curiosity. "You will serve as our test subject," he said, his voice echoing inside Alex's head rather than coming from his mouth. Alex didn't understand how the alien communicated, but the meaning was clear enough to make his heart race. From the corner of his eye, Alex noticed Lieutenant Sarah Monroe and Captain Daniel Hayes arguing with the aliens. They were part of the military response team sent to deal with the situation. "Let him go," Monroe demanded, her voice firm despite the fear in her eyes. "He's just a civilian." Galactic ignored her. Instead, he raised his hand and one of his subordinates aimed a strange device at Alex. It looked like a gun, but instead of bullets, it emitted a pulsating beam of energy. Alex braced himself, expecting pain, or worse, but nothing happened. The beam hit him squarely in the chest, yet he felt no impact, no heat, no force of any kind. The aliens exchanged glances, clearly confused. One of them muttered something in their language which Alex couldn't understand. Galactic frowned and ordered another attempt. This time, a different weapon was used, a glowing orb that hovered toward Alex before releasing a burst of energy. Again, Alex remained unharmed. Alex blinked, unsure if what he was experiencing was real. Was he dreaming? Had the stress of the day finally caught up with him? But the fear in the aliens' expressions told him otherwise. They weren't faking it. They were genuinely shocked. Back on Earth, the events unfolded live on television screens. Millions of people watched as Alex survived not one, but two attacks from advanced alien technology. Social media exploded with reactions. Some called him a hero. Others speculated about divine intervention. Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire. Governments scrambled to respond, unsure whether to celebrate or prepare for war. Dr. Emily Ross, a physicist working for NASA, sat glued to her laptop, analyzing every frame of the broadcast. She rewound the footage repeatedly, trying to spot any clues that might explain Alex's survival. Her mind raced with possibilities. Could it be some kind of natural resistance? Or was it something technological? Meanwhile, aboard the alien ship, Galactic grew increasingly agitated. Never in their history had the Valens encountered such immunity to their weapons. For a species that prided itself on superiority, this was unacceptable. He ordered his scientists to examine Alex closely, determined to uncover the secret behind his invincibility. As the hours passed, Alex tried to stay calm. He wasn't sure why the weapons hadn't hurt him, but he knew one thing for certain. He was scared. Scared of the aliens, scared of what might happen next, and scared of the attention he was receiving. He never asked for this. All he wanted was to go back to his quiet life, tinkering with engines and avoiding trouble. But trouble had found him anyway, and as the world watched, waiting for answers, Alex realized that his life, and perhaps the fate of humanity, had changed forever. For now, all he could do was wait and hope that someone, somewhere, would figure out a way to get him home. Until then, he stood alone, facing beings who saw him as both a mystery and a threat. Little did he know, his journey was only beginning. Back on Earth, the world was buzzing with questions. How could one ordinary man survive an attack from alien weapons? What made Alex Carter different from everyone else? Scientists, military leaders, and even everyday people were desperate for answers. The situation felt like something out of a movie, but it was real, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Dr. Emily Ross sat in her lab at NASA headquarters, surrounded by monitors displaying data and footage of the incident. She had been working non-stop since Alex's encounter with the aliens. Her coffee cup was empty, her eyes bloodshot, but she didn't care. This was the most important puzzle she'd ever faced, and she wasn't going to rest until she solved it. Lieutenant Sarah Monroe joined her in the lab, bringing fresh reports from the military. "We've got analysts reviewing every second of that broadcast," she said, leaning against a desk. "But so far, no one can explain why their weapons failed." Emily nodded, pointing to a grainy image on one of the screens. "Look at this," she said. "Right before the beam hit him, there's a faint shimmer around his body. It's subtle, but it's there. I think it might be some kind of energy field protecting him." Sarah frowned. "You mean like a shield?" "Maybe," Emily replied. "But if it is, we don't know where it came from, or how long it will last." Meanwhile, aboard the alien mothership, Alex was trying to make sense of his own situation. He had been taken to a small, dimly lit room and left alone for hours. The walls seemed to hum softly and the air smelled strange, metallic. Every time he tried to touch the surface of the wall, it felt cold and smooth like glass, but when he pressed harder, it resisted, as if it weren't solid at all. Alex paced back and forth, his mind racing. He kept replaying the moment when the alien weapon hit him. He remembered feeling a split second of panic, expecting pain or worse, but then nothing happened. No burn, no impact, not even a scratch. It was as if the weapon had simply stopped working. Eventually, the door slid open, and two Valens entered. One of them carried a glowing device that looked like a scanner. They gestured for Alex to stand still, and though he hesitated, he complied. The device emitted a soft hum as it passed over his body, collecting what Alex assumed was some kind of data. He glanced at the aliens, trying to read their expressions, but their faces were unreadable. Their large, dark eyes stared straight ahead, showing no emotion. Alex cleared his throat nervously. "Why isn't your weapon working on me?" he asked, though he doubted they would answer. To his surprise, one of them spoke, not with its mouth, but directly into his mind. "We do not yet understand," the voice said. "Your biology defies our knowledge." Alex blinked. "My biology? What does that mean?" The alien didn't respond. Instead, it turned and left the room, leaving Alex more confused than ever. Back on Earth, Dr. Ross continued her investigation. She reviewed old medical records and scientific studies, searching for anything unusual about Alex's background. At first, she found nothing. But then, buried deep in a government database, she discovered something interesting. When Alex was a child, he had participated in a series of experimental treatments. These treatments involved exposure to low levels of cosmic radiation, part of a now-abandoned program aimed at understanding how space travel might affect the human body. At the time, the experiments were deemed safe, but no long-term effects were documented. Emily's heart raced as she connected the dots. Could those early exposures have altered Alex's DNA in some way? Could they have given him immunity to the Valen's weapons? She knew it was just a theory, but it was worth exploring. She shared her findings with Lieutenant Monroe, who immediately contacted Captain Daniel Hayes. Together, they decided to bring Alex's family into the loop. His mother, Linda, arrived at the lab looking worried but determined. She listened carefully as Emily explained the theory, nodding slowly. "It makes sense," Linda said. "Alex has always been different. Even as a kid, he never got sick. Not once." While the scientists worked to unravel the mystery, tensions between humans and the Valons escalated. Galactic, frustrated by his inability to harm Alex, issued new threats. "Your species will submit," he declared in another global broadcast. Resistance is futile, but humanity wasn't ready to give up. Protests erupted worldwide, with millions of people rallying behind Alex. Signs read, "If he can stand, so can we," and "Unity, not surrender." For the first time in history, nations put aside their differences and worked together. Military alliances formed, resources were pooled, and plans for defense were drawn up. Amid the chaos, Alex remained trapped aboard the alien ship. He spent most of his time alone, thinking about home. He missed the smell of motor oil and the sound of tools clinking against metal. He missed his mom's cooking and the quiet simplicity of his life before all this madness began. One day, a new alien came to see him. Unlike the others, this one seemed curious rather than hostile. Her name was Lyra, and though she didn't speak aloud, she communicated with Alex through thoughts. "I am a scientist," she told him. "I wish to learn more about you." Alex hesitated. "Why should I trust you?" he asked. Lyra paused, then replied, "Because I believe your survival may hold the key to peace between our species." Her words caught Alex off guard. Peace? Was that even possible? He thought about the fear and anger he'd seen on Earth, the destruction caused by the Valen's raids, but he also thought about Lyra's calm demeanor and genuine interest. Maybe not all Valens were like Galactic. Over the next few days, Alex and Lyra developed a fragile bond. She explained that her people were divided, with some supporting Galactic's aggressive tactics and others advocating for diplomacy. She admitted that she disagreed with the invasion but feared speaking out. Alex shared stories about his life on Earth, his work, his family, his dreams. In return, Lyra told him about her planet, a distant world filled with towering cities and advanced technology. Despite their differences, they found common ground in their desire for understanding. Meanwhile, Captain Hayes and Lieutenant Monroe prepared a daring rescue mission. Using experimental technology reverse-engineered from crashed alien probes, they planned to infiltrate the mothership and retrieve Alex. It was risky, but they knew they had to try. As the team finalized their plans, Dr. Ross worked tirelessly to replicate Alex's immunity. If she could create shields or protective suits based on his unique biology, it might give humanity a fighting chance. Progress was slow, but she refused to give up. On the mothership, Alex noticed a change in the atmosphere. The Valens seemed tense, their movements hurried. Something big was about to happen. He could feel it. Lyra confirmed his suspicions during one of their meetings. "Galactic is planning an attack," she warned. "He believes destroying your planet will force submission." Alex's stomach churned. He had to warn Earth, but how? Communication with the outside world was impossible. Then, he remembered something Lyra had mentioned earlier, a weak point in the ship's defenses. If he could escape and share that information, it might help the humans fight back. With Lyra's help, Alex devised a plan. It was dangerous, but it was the only chance he had. As the hours ticked by, he prepared himself for what lay ahead. He didn't know if he would succeed, but he knew he had to try. For the first time since being abducted, Alex felt a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, he could make a difference. Not just for himself, but for everyone back home. Alex's plan was simple but risky. He knew he couldn't overpower the Valens, they were too strong, too advanced. But with Lyra's help, he might be able to sneak away unnoticed. The key was timing. If he acted too soon, the Valens would catch him before he could reach the weak point in the ship's defenses that Lyra had told him about. If he waited too long, Galactic's attack on Earth might begin, and then it would be too late. Lyra had promised to create a distraction. She didn't say exactly what she would do, but Alex trusted her. In the short time they'd spent together, she had shown him kindness and honesty, qualities he hadn't expected from the aliens. Still, as much as he wanted to believe in her, a part of him worried she might be caught. If that happened, he didn't want to think about the consequences. The hours passed slowly. Alex stayed in his small room, pacing back and forth, trying to calm his racing thoughts. He thought about his mom, Linda, and how worried she must be. He thought about Lieutenant Monroe and Captain Hayes, who were probably doing everything they could to rescue him. And he thought about Earth, the billions of people counting on him to survive. Finally, the moment came. A loud alarm blared through the ship, followed by hurried footsteps and muffled voices. Alex peeked out of his room cautiously. The corridor outside was empty. Whatever Lyra had done, it had worked. He moved quickly, sticking close to the walls, as Lyra had instructed. The ship's layout was confusing, with twisting passages and glowing symbols that seemed to shift when he looked at them for too long. But Alex focused on the directions Lyra had given him. Left, then right, then straight ahead until he reached a circular hatch marked with a faintly pulsing light. When he arrived, he hesitated. The hatch was larger than he expected, and there was no obvious way to open it. He pressed his hand against the surface, half expecting it to resist like the walls of his room. To his relief, the metal gave slightly under his touch. With a soft hiss, the hatch slid open, revealing a narrow tunnel beyond. Alex climbed inside, pulling the hatch closed behind him. The tunnel was dark, lit only by faint strips of blue light running along the floor. He crawled forward, his heart pounding in his chest. Every sound echoed loudly, and he flinched at every creak and groan of the ship around him. After what felt like an eternity, he reached the end of the tunnel. Another hatch awaited him, this one smaller and less imposing. He pushed it open carefully, peering out into a vast chamber filled with towering machinery. This was it, the weak point Lyra had described. In the center of the chamber stood a massive sphere, glowing faintly with a pulsating light. Wires and tubes connected it to the surrounding equipment, feeding energy into the core of the ship. Alex approached cautiously, scanning the area for any signs of danger. So far, so good. He pulled a small device from his pocket, a tool Lyra had smuggled to him earlier. It looked like a cross between a flashlight and a remote control, with buttons and dials he didn't fully understand. Lyra had explained how to use it, but Alex still felt nervous. One wrong move and he could trigger a disaster, or worse, alert the Valens to his presence. Taking a deep breath, he pressed the first button. The device hummed softly, and a beam of light shot out, connecting to the sphere. Numbers and symbols appeared on a tiny screen, scrolling faster than Alex could read them. He adjusted the dials as Lyra had taught him, watching as the glow of the sphere dimmed slightly. Just as he started to relax, a voice boomed behind him. "What are you doing?" Alex froze. Slowly, he turned to see Galactic standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. Two other Valons flanked him, their weapons raised. For a moment, Alex thought it was over. He had been caught, and there was nothing he could do. But then, something unexpected happened. Before Galactic could give an order, Lyra stepped forward. She had followed Alex, risking everything to protect him. "Leave him alone," she said firmly, her voice ringing in everyone's minds. Galactic narrowed his eyes. "You betray us?" He asked, his tone icy. "I seek peace," Lyra replied. This human has shown us that there is more to life than domination. We cannot continue down this path. For a moment, no one moved. Then Galactic raised his weapon, aiming it directly at Lyra. Alex's stomach sank. He couldn't let her sacrifice herself for him. Summoning all his courage, he stepped between them. "If you want to hurt her, you'll have to go through me first," he said, his voice shaking but determined. Galactic stared at him, clearly baffled. None of his weapons could harm Alex, and now this human was standing up to him. It was unthinkable. Before anyone could react, a sudden explosion rocked the ship. Bright lights flashed outside the chamber and the sound of gunfire echoed through the corridors. The humans had arrived. Captain Hayes led the rescue team, their experimental weapons blazing as they fought off Velan guards. Lieutenant Monroe spotted Alex and Lyra and signaled for them to follow. "Come on," she shouted. "We don't have much time." Alex hesitated, looking at Lyra. "You should come with us," he said. Lyra shook her head. "I can't, my place is here, but I'll hold them off as long as I can. Go." Reluctantly, Alex nodded. Together with Hayes and Monroe, he ran toward the exit, dodging blasts of alien energy as they went. Behind them, Lyra faced Galactic and his soldiers, her bravery giving the humans precious seconds to escape. Back on Earth, the news of Alex's rescue spread quickly. People cheered, celebrating the success of the mission. But Alex didn't feel like celebrating. He thought about Lyra and the sacrifice she had made. She had risked everything to help him, and now she was gone. Dr. Ross greeted Alex at the landing site, eager to learn more about his experience. "We need to understand why you're immune to their weapons," she said. "If we can replicate it, we might stand a chance if they attack again." Alex nodded, though his mind was elsewhere. He knew the fight wasn't over. The Velans were still out there, and Galactic wouldn't give up easily. But for the first time, Alex felt a glimmer of hope. Humanity had come together, united in the face of danger. And maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to survive. As the days passed, Alex worked closely with Dr. Ross and the military, sharing everything he remembered about the mothership and its defenses. His knowledge proved invaluable, helping scientists develop new strategies to counter the Velan's technology. Meanwhile, governments around the world prepared for the possibility of another invasion. Despite the challenges ahead, Alex refused to give up. He had seen the worst humanity the Velans had to offer, but he had also witnessed acts of courage and compassion. From Lyra's selflessness to the global unity sparked by his survival, Alex realized that even in the darkest times there was always a reason to keep fighting, and fight he would. For Earth, for Lyra, and for the future of both species. The days after Alex's rescue were a blur of activity. Scientists, military leaders, and politicians worked around the clock to prepare for the next stage of the conflict. Everyone knew it was only a matter of time before the Velans returned. Galactic had made his intentions clear. Earth would either submit or be destroyed. Alex found himself at the center of everything. Dr. Emily Ross and her team bombarded him with questions, running tests to understand why he was immune to the aliens' weapons. They took blood samples, scanned his body with advanced machines, and even studied his DNA under powerful microscopes. Alex tried to stay patient, but it wasn't easy. He missed his quiet life in Brooklyn, where the biggest problem he faced was fixing a stubborn engine. Despite the stress, Alex felt a sense of purpose. For the first time, he realized that his survival wasn't just luck. It was a chance to make a difference. Every piece of information he shared about the mothership could help humanity fight back, and every moment he spent working with Dr. Ross brought them closer to understanding the secret behind his immunity. Meanwhile, Captain Daniel Hayes and Lieutenant Sarah Monroe coordinated efforts to defend Earth. Military bases around the world were upgraded with experimental technology reverse-engineered from alien probes. Soldiers trained tirelessly, learning how to use new weapons designed to counter the Velan's advanced arsenal. Cities prepared evacuation plans, and governments urged citizens to stay calm while remaining vigilant, but not everyone was optimistic. Some people believed resistance was futile. "How can we win against being so much stronger than us?" they asked. Others argued that surrender might be the only way to save lives. Protests erupted in major cities, with crowds divided between those calling for peace and those demanding war. Alex watched the debates on television, feeling torn. He understood both sides. On one hand, he didn't want anyone else to suffer because of the Valons. On the other hand, he couldn't imagine giving up without a fight, not after everything he'd been through. One evening, as Alex sat in a small conference room reviewing schematics of the mothership, Captain Hayes walked in. His face was grim, his shoulders tense. "We need your help," he said without preamble. Alex looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" Hayes pulled out a chair and sat across from him. "Our intel suggests the Valons are planning another attack soon. If we don't stop them now, they'll wipe out entire cities. We've come up with a plan to infiltrate their ship again, but we need someone who knows the layout, and someone who can survive their weapons." Alex's stomach dropped. "You want me to go back there?" "It's dangerous," Hayes admitted. "But if we destroy their central power core, it could cripple their ability to attack. You're the only one who can get close enough to do it." For a moment, Alex didn't say anything. The idea of returning to the mothership terrified him, but deep down he knew Hayes was right. If there was any chance to end the threat once and for all, he had to take it. "Okay," Alex said finally. "I'll do it." The mission required careful planning. Hayes assembled a team of highly skilled individuals, each chosen for their expertise. There was Lieutenant Monroe, whose tactical knowledge was unmatched, Dr. Ross, who provided technical support, and several soldiers trained in stealth and combat. Together, they reviewed every detail of the plan, anticipating potential obstacles and preparing for the worst. Dr. Ross also worked on creating portable shields based on Alex's immunity. Though she hadn't fully cracked the science yet, she managed to develop prototypes that offered limited protection against alien weapons. These shields would give the team a fighting chance during the infiltration. As the launch date approached, Alex spent hours practicing with the team. They rehearsed their movements, memorized escape routes, and tested their equipment. Despite his fear, Alex felt a growing sense of camaraderie with the others. They weren't just soldiers or scientists. They were allies, united by a common goal. On the night of the mission, the air was thick with tension. The team gathered in a secure hangar, where a sleek aircraft waited to carry them into orbit. Alex stood quietly, staring at the vehicle. It was smaller than the alien mothership, but its sleek design and glowing engines reminded him of the Valon's technology. Lieutenant Monroe placed a hand on his shoulder. "You ready?" she asked gently. Alex nodded, though his heart was racing. "As ready as I'll ever be." The journey to space was silent. No one spoke as the aircraft ascended, breaking through Earth's atmosphere and entering the vast darkness beyond. Through the windows, Alex could see the curve of the planet below, shimmering like a blue jewel. For a moment, he forgot about the danger ahead and marveled at the beauty of his home. When they reached the mothership, the team activated cloaking devices designed to hide them from Valon sensors. Slowly, they approached the massive vessel, its metallic surface gleaming ominously in the starlight. Using coordinates provided by Alex, they located the same weak point Lyra had shown him earlier. The hatch opened silently, and the team slipped inside. The interior of the ship was eerily quiet, the hum of machinery filling the air. Alex led the way, guiding the group through twisting corridors and past glowing symbols. Every step felt heavier than the last, the weight of their mission pressing down on him. They encountered patrols of Valon guards, forcing the team to move cautiously. Thanks to the cloaking devices, they avoided detection, at least for a while. But as they neared the central chamber, alarms began to blare. Red lights flashed and the sound of rushing footsteps echoed through the halls. "We've been spotted," Lieutenant Monroe whispered urgently. "Keep moving," Hayes ordered. "We're almost there." The team pressed forward, dodging blasts of energy as Valons appeared around every corner. Alex stayed focused, remembering Lyra's bravery and determination. She had risked everything to help him, and now it was his turn to do the same for humanity. Finally, they reached the chamber containing the power core. The massive sphere pulsed with light, its energy radiating outward in waves. Alex approached, it carefully holding the device Dr. Ross had given him. The others formed a defensive perimeter, firing their weapons to hold off the advancing aliens. Alex's hands trembled as he adjusted the dials on the device. "Come on," he muttered under his breath. "Work. Please work." Behind him, the battle raged on. Lieutenant Monroe shouted orders, her voice steady despite the chaos. Hayes fought alongside the soldiers, his movements precise and calculated. Each second felt like an eternity, but Alex refused to give up. Suddenly, the device beeped, signaling a successful connection. A surge of energy coursed through the cables linking the sphere to the rest of the ship. Sparks flew, and the lights flickered violently. The Valens hesitated, confused by the sudden disruption. "It's working!" Alex yelled. "Get out of here!" The team retreated quickly, retracing their steps toward the exit. Explosions rocked the ship, sending debris flying in all directions. Alex stumbled but kept moving, driven by sheer willpower. He thought about Lyra and the sacrifice she had made. He couldn't let her down. Just as they reached the hatch, a massive blast shook the entire vessel. The walls groaned, and parts of the ceiling collapsed. The team scrambled aboard their aircraft, narrowly avoiding being crushed. As the engines roared to life, Alex looked back one last time. The mothership was falling apart, consumed by fire and smoke. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted as news of the mission spread. People cheered, waving flags and lighting fireworks. For the first time in weeks, there was hope. The Valens had been weakened, their ability to attack severely diminished, but Alex knew the victory came at a cost. He thought about Lyra and the bond they had formed, however brief it had been. Her courage had inspired him, and he vowed never to forget her. As the world celebrated, Alex returned to his workshop in Brooklyn. Life slowly began to feel normal again, though he knew things would never truly be the same. He had seen the best and worst of humanity, and the Valens, and emerged stronger for it. For now, Earth was safe. But Alex understood that the universe was vast, full of mysteries and dangers yet unknown. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he was ready to face them. After all, he had proven that even an ordinary person could make an extraordinary difference. The destruction of the Valens mothership marked a turning point for humanity. For weeks, the world celebrated the victory, but beneath the surface, tensions lingered. The aliens had not been completely defeated. They were still out there, somewhere in the vastness of space. No one knew when or where they might strike again. Alex Carter tried to return to his normal life, but it wasn't easy. Reporters camped outside his workshop, eager for interviews. Strangers approached him on the street, thanking him for saving the planet. Some even called him a hero, though Alex didn't feel like one. All he had done was survive, and make a few tough choices. He missed the quiet days before everything changed, when his biggest concern was fixing cars and paying bills. Despite the chaos, Alex found comfort in small routines. He spent hours tinkering with engines, letting the familiar rhythm of tools and grease calm his mind. His mom, Linda, visited often, bringing homemade meals and offering words of encouragement. "You've done more than anyone could ask," she told him one evening. "Don't let all this attention weigh you down." But the attention wasn't just from fans. Scientists continued studying Alex's immunity, hoping to replicate it for broader use. Dr. Emily Ross worked tirelessly in her lab, running tests and analyzing data. She had made progress, developing prototypes of protective suits based on Alex's unique biology. These suits weren't perfect, but they offered some defense against alien weapons, a crucial advantage if the Valens returned. Military leaders also sought Alex's advice. Captain Daniel Hayes and Lieutenant Sarah Monroe frequently consulted him about strategies for defending Earth. They showed him plans for new weapons and discussed ideas for early warning systems that could detect incoming threats. Alex listened carefully, sharing insights from his time aboard the mothership. Though he didn't consider himself an expert, his first-hand experience proved invaluable. Meanwhile, governments around the world strengthened their alliances. The unity sparked by the invasion continued to grow, as nations pooled resources and shared technology. Space programs expanded rapidly, with satellites launched into orbit to monitor nearby star systems. Humanity was no longer content to wait passively. It was preparing to meet future challenges head-on. Back in Brooklyn, Alex struggled with the weight of responsibility. He hadn't asked to become a symbol of hope, but people looked to him for answers. At times he felt overwhelmed, unsure if he could live up to their expectations, but then he remembered Lyra, the brave Velan scientist who had risked everything to help him. Her sacrifice reminded him that courage wasn't about being fearless. It was about doing what needed to be done even when you were scared. One day, while working in his shop, Alex received an unexpected visitor. It was Dr. Ross holding a folder filled with papers. "I thought you'd want to see this," she said, placing the folder on a nearby table. "What is it?" Alex asked, wiping his hands on a rag. "It's our latest findings," Emily explained. "We've identified specific genetic markers in your DNA that seem responsible for your immunity. With more research, we might be able to create treatments that grant others similar protection." Alex frowned. "Does that mean I'm different now? Permanently?" Emily hesitated. "We're still learning. But yes, it seems your body has undergone permanent changes. You're not just resistant to alien weapons. You're stronger, faster, more resilient than the average human." Alex sank onto a stool, processing the news. He had suspected something was different about him, but hearing it confirmed was unsettling. What did it mean for his future? Would he always be seen as someone special or someone strange? Before he could dwell on these thoughts, Emily added, "There's something else. We detected unusual energy readings coming from deep space. They matched the signature of the Velan's technology." Alex's heart sank. "They're coming back." "It's possible," Emily admitted. "But we'll be ready this time. Thanks to you, we have better defenses and a clearer understanding of their weaknesses." Over the next few days, preparations intensified. Military bases buzzed with activity as soldiers trained harder than ever. Factories churned out batches of protective suits, each one improving on the last. Scientists monitored the skies closely, tracking every movement in the cosmos. Alex joined the effort, traveling to meetings and sharing his knowledge. He visited schools and community centers, speaking to crowds about resilience and unity. "We're stronger together," he often said. "No matter how big the challenge, we can overcome it if we stand side by side." His words resonated with people. Inspired by his story, volunteers signed up to support the Global Defense Initiative. Engineers, doctors, teachers, even children found ways to contribute. Humanity had faced its darkest hour, and instead of crumbling, it had risen to the occasion. Then one fateful night the alarm sounded. A fleet of alien ships appeared on the edge of Earth's atmosphere, their silhouettes ominous against the stars. Galactic's voice echoed across the globe once more. "Your defiance ends now," he declared. "Surrender, or face annihilation." This time, however, humanity was prepared. Fighter jets equipped with experimental weapons soared into the sky, engaging the alien vessels in fierce battles. Ground forces activated defensive grids, shielding cities from devastating attacks. And Alex, wearing one of the newly developed protective suits, led a team tasked with disabling the invaders' command ship. The mission was perilous, but Alex refused to back down. Drawing on everything he had learned, he navigated the alien craft with precision, evading traps and overcoming obstacles. When confronted by Galactic himself, Alex stood firm, refusing to yield. "You don't get to decide our fate," he said, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. In the end, it wasn't brute force that won the day. It was ingenuity and teamwork. Humanity's combined efforts crippled the alien fleet, forcing them to retreat. As the ships disappeared into the void, cheers erupted around the world. Earth was safe, for now. Afterward, Alex returned to Brooklyn, exhausted but proud. He knew the fight wasn't over. The universe held countless mysteries, many of which might pose new threats. But he also knew that humanity had proven itself capable of greatness. Together they had faced the unknown and emerged victorious. Life slowly returned to normal, or as close to normal as it could be after such an extraordinary event. Alex reopened his workshop, welcoming customers with a smile. He stayed involved in scientific and military efforts, offering guidance whenever needed. But most importantly, he lived each day with gratitude, cherishing the moments of peace. As he stood outside his shop one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Alex reflected on everything he had experienced. From the moment the alien ship descended over New York City to the final battle against Galactic, his journey had been anything but ordinary. Yet through it all, he had discovered something profound. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, ordinary people could achieve extraordinary things, and perhaps that was the greatest victory of all.